My name is Lemonstein Poindexter, and I'm here to present to you my interpersonal communications project for HSER508. I'm currently a student at Liberty University, and this is the summer term of 2013. The first thing I want to do to you is to give you the outline that I will be discussing today. Let's go to the next slide. Today I'll discuss the following things with you: communication and interpersonal communication defined, enlarging the conversation, my overarching goals, my personal background, barriers in goal achievement. We will define noise pollution and give some solutions. Then I will present to you my plan of action and a summary. Let's go to the next slide. Communication is the continuous, complex, and collaborative process of verbal and nonverbal meaning making, according to Stewart 2012. Interpersonal communication is the counterpart of impersonal communication. The term interpersonal labels the kind of communication that happens when people involved talk and when they listen in ways that maximize the presence of the personal. In other words, when people can learn how to communicate and not only talk, but listen in ways that maximizes the personal feeling of those who they're talking to and the person who's present so that they feel involved. Let's go to the next slide. Enlarging the conversation. Enlarging the conversation allows us to take all aspects of effective communication and use them to our benefit. One example of this is called nexting. According to Stewart, who talks about this term, in communication, no matter what has happened before and no matter how bad things currently look, you always have the option of trying a next step. That's where we develop the term nexting. Communication is continuous and is collaborative. No one person determines all the outcomes of a communication event. Next slide. Let's talk about enlarging the conversation through better listening skills. According to Burley Allen, 1995, the way you listen and respond to others will strongly influence how they will feel about your responses, such as if they want to continue talking, if they're feeling turned off or understood, or if they may feel tense or relaxed. Next slide. What are my overarching goals? James 1:19 in the King James Version is actually one of my favorite scriptures. It states, "Wherefore, my brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath." In other words, let's try to use more of our listening skills and less of our talking skills. If we would listen more, I believe that we could effectively communicate better when it is our turn to talk. My overarching goal is to become a more effective listener and communicator. Next slide, please. Our personal background. All of us have a predictable pattern of behavior because we have a specific personality. There are 4 basic personality types, and these personality types are also known as temperaments, and they all blend together to develop our unique personality known as our behavioral blend, according to Carbonell 2008. Let's go to the next slide. After taking the assessment, Uniquely You, it would determine my behavioral blend was what was expected of me. I was an IS. That is considered an inspirational specialist. And then This Is Me, I was a CIS, which is a competent influencing specialist. Now, I know these are big terms, so what do they really mean? Or better yet, what are some of the characteristics that go along with this type of blend? A person who would have the IS or CIS blend would have good people skills, and they are more people-oriented and less task-oriented. In other words, they focus more on people than they do on task. My behavioral blend. Here are some of the questions. How do others see me? They see me as the perfect people person. According to this behavioral blend, the vision of people with my type behavioral blend is to motivate others and help them by encouraging them and supporting them. The passion is to make people feel better about themselves and their situations. Let's go to the next slide. What are some barriers in goal achievement? Burley Allen noted that taking time to reflect on listening behavior by exploring the questions and the listening habits of others is a great way to be able to overcome the barriers that you have. In other words, we can take note of those who we believe are good listeners or good communicators. We can learn from those people, and that can help us to become better communicators. Let's go to the next slide. What are some of the barriers in my behavioral blend? As a CIS or an IS, to improve and control my behavioral blend, which in turn will help affect my communication in a positive way, I need to steer away from the following. I need to be aware of seeking the approval of others. I need to be more task-oriented, work hard, be industrious. And a big warning signal it gave for my personality blend was sometimes I need to be more demanding and decisive. And I know that's true. Let's go to the next slide. At this point, let's define noise pollution and give some solutions, because noise pollution is very, very important. Why is it important? Because we have become such a technological society that there are many things that affect us and cause pollution in our listening and thinking and communicating skills. Noise pollution involves the factors that influence us to be distracted from listening. According to Burley Allen, there are two types of noise pollution: internal and external noise pollution. Next slide. Internal noise includes hearing what you want to hear, distractions, emotional listening, and sometimes just fatigue. You're just too tired to listen. Some solutions to internal noise include not allowing past experiences to dictate how I listen, especially in a familiar conversation that you've had with people over and over. I need to remain patient, remove the distractions, and remain positive. Next slide. Some examples of external noise pollution are talking too rapidly, which I tend to do sometimes, distractions from multitasking, and sometimes just loud noises from the outside. In order to resolve some of those, we can give the speaker our undivided attention or hold a conversation in an area that's free from noise. Next slide. My plan of action involves ways I can become a better listener. I can remove distractions, and I can also use the talker listener card as Peterson described in the book that we wrote a paper on. I can also consider the characteristics of those people that I feel are good listeners, and I can try to use them as a mentor or a model as to what I would like to be. Next slide. I can avoid being too critical or judgmental, and it's important to choose the right timing for asking certain questions. I should also refrain from solving the talker's problem. Let's go to the next slide. I can also try to be an empathetic listener, and that is very important. Next slide. In summary, according to Peterson 2007, some people call empathy the grace of God quality in people. Stressed people do and say crazy things, but an empathetic person can see through the crazies, and you can actually see through what they're saying and really try to feel their pain. I want to leave you with this thought from Colossians 4:6. It states, "Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man." We should all desire the characteristics of God within us. And I believe that if we have the characteristics of the Holy Spirit working within us, then we're able to have patience, be loving, compassionate, empathetic, and kind to all men. I pray that this presentation has helped you in some way and will encourage you to become a better listener or a better communicator. May God bless you, and thank you for listening.